Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss about thoracic vertebrae. Now we know there are total 12 thoracic vertebrae, and out of 12, second to 8 are typical as they are sharing common features, whereas first, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th are atypical. Now all thoracic vertebrae can be identified by a common feature, and that is a costal facet. Now this is a costal facet, upper one and lower one, which is situated at the junction of body with the pedicle. So these are the facets which will articulate with the head of the ribs, and this is how you can identify given vertebrae as a thoracic vertebrae. Similarly, most of the thoracic vertebrae they will also bear another facet in front of the transverse process over here. Okay, so this is again an identification point for given vertebrae as a thoracic vertebrae. Now let's see parts of a typical thoracic vertebra. So it is having two parts, body and vertebral arch. These two together join and form a vertebral foramen, which will enclose spinal cord, meninges and other structures. Now let's see first the body. If you see it from above, you will clearly make out that the shape of the body is heart shape. The anteroposterior and transverse diameters are almost same. The superior and inferior surfaces are flattened. Similarly, body is uniformly curved, and when you see it from side at its junction with pedicle, you will make out two articular facets. These are generally demifacets, one above and one below. The superior facet, which is actually a demifacet, is larger as compared to the inferior demifacet, and when we join two corresponding thoracic vertebrae like this, so over here these two demifacets, one superior and one inferior, these two together will articulate with the corresponding articular facet on the head of the rib. So here this is a rib, this is its head. It is having two articular facets, one above and one below. The inferior one is larger, the superior one is smaller, you can clearly make out. So this superior smaller one will articulate with the inferior smaller articular facet of the upper vertebrae, whereas the superior larger articular facet of the body will articulate with this inferior larger articular facet. Okay, so this inferior larger articular facet will articulate with the numerically corresponding vertebrae like this. Okay, so suppose if it is a T3, then this rib will be third rib, and the smaller articular facet of the head will articulate with the smaller demifacet of T2 like this. So these three together will form costovertebral joint, okay, like this. Now along the upper and lower borders, the anterior and posterior surfaces will provide attachment to anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments respectively. If you see it from below, the posterior surface of the body is marked by multiple vascular foramina which will allow passage of basivertebral vein, and they are covered by posterior longitudinal ligament. Now next are the pedicles, which are thick bony bars directed almost backward, and they are attached to the upper part of the body in such a way that the superior intervertebral notch is shallower as compared to the inferior intervertebral notch. See this is very deep and this is shallow. Now when we join corresponding thoracic vertebrae together, you can clearly make out that this deeper inferior intervertebral notch will come in contact with the shallower superior intervertebral notch, and these two together will form intervertebral foramen through which the corresponding spinal nerve will come out. See this. Now next are the lamina, which are thick, short, broad, bony plates directed backward and medially. They join together to form a spine, and these lamina will overlap So when we join again corresponding thoracic vertebrae, you can see there is overlapping of the lamina, and these lamina will provide attachment to ligamentum flava. Now next are superior articular processes, which are directed upward at the junction of pedicle and lamina, and posteriorly they are having flattened articular facets which are directed backward and slightly laterally, and this will articulate with corresponding inferior articular facets. Over here you can see of higher vertebrae like this. Okay, so this is how the articulation will take place. So similarly, the inferior articular processes are found at the junction of pedicle and lamina, and they are having flattened articular facets which are directed forward and slightly medially. So the corresponding superior and inferior articulate facets will articulate like this. Say this. Now, as I mentioned, the superior articular facets are directed almost backward and slightly laterally in such a way that when you join these two together by an imaginary line, they will form an arc. And this is the reason behind the thoracic spine, which is permitting limited flexion and extension, but it is just because of the formation of this arc. The thoracic spine is permitting rotatory movements. So let me just show you articulated spine. You can see over here, and over here is the thoracic spine, and because of the orientation of superior and inferior articular facets in such a way that they are making arc, and it is just because of it permits rotatory movement. Say this at this joint. Say this. Now next are the transverse processes, which are thick club shaped bony bars directed backward and laterally from the junction of pedicle and lamina. When you see them from in front of the tip, you can see an articular facet which is concave in upper 6 thoracic vertebrae. It is flattened in 7th to 10th thoracic vertebrae, and it is absent in 11th and 12th thoracic vertebrae. Now this articular facet will articulate with corresponding articular facet on posterior aspect of neck of the rib. Let me show you. So this is a rib, this is right rib, this is head, neck, and posterior to it, actually the articular facet is situated at the junction of neck and the shaft, and over here you can see there is an articular facet, and this will articulate with numerically corresponding transverse process like this. Okay, and together they form costo-transverse joint. See this is how it articulates with the numerically corresponding vertebrae. And this is a plain synovial joint with a synovial membrane, articular capsule, and some ligaments. Let's just see which are the ligaments joining these two together. So there are costo-transverse ligaments between rib and transverse process, as the name itself is suggestive of costo-transverse ligaments. So there are total 3 costo-transverse ligaments. Superior costo-transverse ligament, then comes inferior over here you can see, and another is lateral costo-transverse ligaments. So between corresponding vertebrae and ribs there are these 3 costo-transverse ligaments. The first is the lateral costo-transverse ligament. It is extending from tip of the transverse process to the lateral non-articular part on the tubercle of the rib. Over here next to the articular facet on the tubercle of the rib there is non-articular part, and that provides attachment to lateral costo-transverse ligament. Now next is superior costo-transverse ligament. It is a ligament extending between the transverse process of vertebrae above. Okay, so if it is a third rib, so this will be the transverse process of second vertebrae. Now it is having 2 lamina, anterior and posterior. So below it is attached to the crest or superior border of the neck of the lower rib, whereas in upper part it is connected to the inferior aspect of the transverse process of vertebra above. Now next is inferior costotransverse ligament, which is attached between the posterior aspect of the neck of the rib and anterior aspect of the transverse process over here. So when you join these two together like this, okay, so here in the gap there is inferior costotransverse ligament between numerically corresponding rib and the vertebrae, whereas over here from the tip of the transverse process to this non-articular area, this will receive attachment of lateral costotransverse ligament, whereas over here this is a crest of the rib and this will provide attachment to superior costotransverse ligament. So this is how the articulation will take place, and over here in this gap there is superior costotransverse ligament. Now one more thing is, we already discussed that the head of the rib is having two articular facets and that will articulate with two demifacets at the junction of two corresponding vertebrae like this, and in between these three there is formation of costovertebral joint. Okay, and one important ligament of this costovertebral joint is triradiate ligament, which is having three bands, upper, middle and lower. So the upper band is connected to the one vertebrae above, the lower band is connected from rib to the corresponding vertebrae, and the middle band is connected to the intervertebral disc in between the vertebrae. Now this middle band is also termed as intra-articular ligament, and this will divide the joint cavity into two, superior and inferior. Okay, so there will be two joint cavities of this costovertebral joint, superior and inferior, and that is divided by middle band of triradiate ligament. Now next is spinous process, which are formed by fusion of two lamina, and these are directed downward and backward. Now specifically in middle thoracic spine from 5th to 8th thoracic vertebrae, this spine will become very long, vertical, and they overlap with each other. Let me show you in articulated spine. See this. So initially the spine are horizontal and then the obliquity will increase, and in the middle thoracic spine they will become almost vertical and they are directed downward and they are overlapping with each other. See this. Again in the lower thoracic spine they change in their shape and they become like a lumbar one. See this. Now the spine will provide attachment to supraspinous and interspinous ligaments, and they are also providing attachment to several muscles of the back like trapezius, rhomboids, serratus posterior superior, serratus posterior inferior, and some deep muscles of the back. Now let's see some characteristic features of atypical thoracic vertebrae, and that will help you in identification of them. So first comes the T1 or first thoracic vertebrae. Now it's in transition from cervical onwards, so it shares some of the features of cervical vertebrae. So first comes the body. It is classically like a cervical vertebrae. Let me show you. So this you can correlate the body of T1 and a typical cervical one. So the transverse diameter is more, the body is smaller. On either side there are lips, and in the front it is beveled. Now on either side you can see there are two costal facets. The upper one is complete, you can see over here, and lower one is the demifacet. So this upper complete articular facet will articulate with the corresponding articular facet on the first rib. Let me show you. So this is first rib, and over here there is a circular articular facet, and that will articulate with the complete articular facet on the side of the T1 like this. Okay, so here is a formation of costovertebral joint. Additionally, the superior intervertebral notch is deeper as compared to the typical thoracic vertebrae, and the spine specifically, just compare the spine of a typical thoracic with the T1, you can clearly make out the spine is very thick and it is almost horizontal. Now next is T9, which is almost similar with the typical thoracic one. The only difference is the costal facet. It is having only single superior demifacet. The inferior demifacet is absent. So this is a feature of T9. Now next is T10, which is having single circular to oval complete superior articular facet. Over here you can see, and that will articulate with corresponding articular facet of the tan 3. The transverse process has got flattened articular facet, and the spine is not that of typical one. Just compare the spine. Okay, so it is thickened and shortened and less oblique as compared to the typical one. Now next is T11. Again, it is having single larger superior articular facet which is complete. There is no inferior articular facet, and this articular facet encroaches upon the pedicle, which will articulate with corresponding articular facet of the head of 11th rib, and there is absence of articular facet on the transverse process, which is present in case of T10. So that is a distinguishing feature between T10 and T11. And similar like T10, the spine is short, curve shaped. You can compare it with the spine of a typical thoracic. See this. So this is regarding T11. Now last is a T12. You can see over here it is almost looking like lumbar vertebrae. So you can see the body, it is almost similar. Now on either side of body there is a single circular large costal facet which is almost encroaching the pedicle, and it is situated in lower part of the pedicle, which will articulate with corresponding articular facet of the 12th rib. The transverse process is almost absent, and it is seen in the form of 3 tubercles: superior, middle and inferior. The superior corresponds with the mammillary process, the middle corresponds with the true transverse process, and inferior corresponds with the accessory process of lumbar vertebrae. The spine is almost like a lumbar one. It is short, quadrilateral, curved shape, thick bony plate. Just compare. Okay, and the inferior articular facets are everted, so these are directed almost laterally as compared to the inferior articular facet of the typical thoracic. See this, they are directed almost forward, whereas over here the inferior articular facets are directed almost laterally, but the superior articular facets, they are directed backward like typical. So these are general features and attachments of the thoracic vertebrae. Hope you understood well. Thanks for watching.